Okay, this video is called Reviewing PHP Basics Videos for No Framework. And specifically this iteration of this video, because this is actually going to be a video series. It's not just a video. This is the beginning of a video series. Okay, this particular edition of this series is about the development environment. Okay, and I'm talking about the development environment that I use. Okay, so if you're watching this on the internet, you know, these are my notes about my development environment to myself. Apache is configured on the virtual machine so that the web root is Media SF Sandbox. The location of the configuration of Apache, the actual configuration which is being loaded, is at this file path right here, etc Apache 2, okay? And the name of the file is vboxsf.conf. Okay, Apache may be loading the default configuration file first, and then it's updating its information with this one. So this is not the PHP configuration, the .ini. This is the Apache configuration, the custom Apache configuration. A URL for an app would look like this for me. It would be sandbox.dev, port 8080 on my iMac, and then no framework. That's going to be something that would look what it would look like for my project here, the no framework project. The Apache configuration in vboxsf.conf has this configuration in it. Virtual document root is in media sf underscore %1. The reason I might want to know this is in case I want to change the document root and still maintain vboxsf.conf as the configuration file. There are ways of changing that to a different configuration file. Okay, to restart Apache, use sudo service apache2 restart. The error logs for the web server as configured in vboxsf.conf are set to, and here it is, where Apache log directory is var log apache2. And this is specified in this file, etc apache2 environment variables. Those two log files must be present before Apache will use them. Okay, I'm not totally sure about that, but I know there's another, I think it's the PHP error log file that has to be, I have to actually manually create it before it will be used. Okay, I don't know why those two log files are being left as owned by root, since I've also got a PHP log file which I've had to make owned by the web server, or else the web server wouldn't be able to write them because they're owned by root. Okay, speaking of that PHP error log file, here it is. This is the path to it. And it is owned by www-data, which is the user for Apache on my system. The custom PHP configuration file is etc php5 mods available custom.ini. And that is where I specify such things as my PHP log file, the error reporting levels, a variable called memory limit, a post max size variable, and an upload max file size. The default PHP configuration files are, okay, there's one for the CLI and one for interacting through a browser to PHP. In other words, from outside the machine, okay? And my configuration file for MySQL is this, okay? That's the main MySQL configuration file. There's probably, which is the default one, there may be a custom one also, I don't know. Okay, which configuration changes have I made in that configuration file? Okay, actually, this is the configuration file in which I made the changes, okay, to MySQL. And these are the changes I've made. I set the character set to UTF-8. I allow access from my Mac to MySQL. I specify on this virtual machine, I specify a log file for slow queries, and I corrected some errors in the generic version of this file because whoever produced this operating system or something didn't make all the corrections for this version of Ubuntu to MySQL configuration. Okay, to restart MySQL, you would use this command right here. Login for MySQL root user is root, and this is on the virtual machine, and this is the MySQL root user. PHP MyAdmin can be used to add users and databases to MySQL. PHP MyAdmin accesses MySQL as the root user on MySQL, although there is a PHP MyAdmin user called PHP MyAdmin who has a randomly generated password. Okay, this PHP MyAdmin user, that's for logging into the PHP MyAdmin interface, okay? It is not an actual user in MySQL or my UNIX, okay? Now, in my dev environment, PHP MyAdmin web interface is accessible without logging into PHP MyAdmin, so I wouldn't have to actually know the password for the user PHP MyAdmin that I just talked about right here. Okay, when creating a new development environment project, I would need to choose a project name, and then I would, by convention, use this name as the project name, as the database name, as the project database user's name, and as the project database user's password. PHP MyAdmin has a web form which helps you create this user and database for the project. Make sure you choose grant all privileges and flush privileges so that you can use this new user. When creating that user, put a # in the host field. That way, the MySQL database management system will be accessible from the iMac, so you can install some app for MySQL on the iMac and then have it be able to connect through the network to the MySQL on the virtual machine. At this point, you will eventually want some tables. Those tables should have an ID column. Make it the type int, index type, primary index. Index is auto increment. Hopefully someday I'll be able to find a production environment, Ubuntu Linux, that I can set up the Unix file system to give rwx permissions, so that I don't have to manually make the PHP files group executable so Apache can run them. I think this ability has to be set up when the operating system is being installed, and that was where I specified that the OS was for a virtual machine. After that, I can have the Apache UNIX User as part, which means member of the group for all web files. By the way, the video right before this on YouTube in my playlist, actually the two videos right before this, are about something very similar to what this is. I went ahead and got rid of my CentOS, the managed server virtual machine, and I replaced it with an Ubuntu. Okay, an Ubuntu unmanaged one. By unmanaged, I mean there's no cPanel, and I'm not paying for support at Liquid Web. And that's it for this video.